The next section I'd like to proceed with is storytelling, right? And I will show you my background now. 1 second. Yeah. So these are just a few important notes and a few important names of people. I hope you all can see clearly. Is it clear for all of you? Guys,
Yes.
is it clear? All right, perfect, nice. Okay, so I'll get back to that. But before that, let me just tell you all. So everyone knows that since the beginning of time, there have been prophets from the start, correct? We've learned about them in history books. We've learned about them from our teachers, from our mothers as well, correct? So there have been prophets who've been descending upon the dunya ever since the start, right? And we also know about who the last prophet was, correct? Can anyone unmute and tell me who the last prophet or the messenger was?
Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
MashaAllah, that was a very quick response. Correct. That's true. Yes, that's correct. Okay, so we know about how Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was the last messenger, right? And how he was bestowed upon with the Holy Quran, which is something all of us read on a daily basis, correct? Yeah. So we don't usually, or like the kids our age, don't really know about what happened after the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So let me tell you a little bit about that. So there were lots of companions of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Correct? He was the last messenger, and obviously everyone knew that, and which is why he had lots of students, he had lots of friends, his age, of all different ages, correct? So among all those companions, there were 4 companions who were the closest to Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and they were called the Khulafai Rashidin. Let me write that down for you. They were called the Khulafai Rashidin, right? This is spelling, in case you have any doubts, right? So they were called the Khulafai Rashidin, and there were 4 of them. Okay, so these people were the closest to Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's bestest friend was the first Khulafai Rashidin. There is an order. There is the first Khulafai Rashidin, then there is a second, there's a third, and then there's the 4th. And I'm going to mention to you all their names. So the first one, sorry? Can you repeat that? Exactly, correct, good boy. His name was Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq radhiyallahu anhu. He was the first Khulafai Rashidin. And then the second one was Hazrat Umar Farooq radhiyallahu anhu. Can anyone tell me who the third Khulafai Rashidin was? Hazrat Uthman Ghani radhiyallahu anhu. MashaAllah, good. It's important for us to add radhiyallahu anhu in order to give them respect. They were companions of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, correct? And we all know how important Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is in our lives, correct? If you have a close friend in your life, obviously they are important, right? Yes, the 4th one is Hazrat Ali, correct. But what I'm trying to say is we should give them a lot of respect when we take their name. And so we add Hazrat Ali radhiyallahu anhu. So they were the 4 Khulafai Rashidin, mashallah. Everyone, you all know about them basically. That's a very good thing. Okay, but the one I'm going to be talking about today is the 3rd Khulafai Rashidin, who is, what's his name written over here? The 3rd Khulafai Rashidin. His name is Hazrat Uthman Ghani radhiyallahu anhu. Right. So I'm sorry, my handwriting isn't the best, but I hope you guys can cope with me. I'll tell you the name so that it's a little easier. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about Hazrat Uthman Ghani radhiyallahu anhu. So he was born, obviously, into the Quraysh tribe. You all know about the Quraysh tribe, right? I'll tell you about this. So we all have families, correct? I belong to a family, you belong to a family. Now, a group of families, let's say 1, 2, or 3 families, it's called a clan. Okay? 4 families or 5 families can be called a clan. And a group of clans, let's say 4 families over here, there's 4 families over here, 4 families everywhere, different clans, 1 clan, 2 clan, 3 clan, all of them together form a huge number of people, correct? And they're called a tribe. So Hazrat Uthman Ghani radiallahu anhu belonged to the Quraysh tribe. And it was a very popular and very famous tribe. Everyone knew about them. So his father's name was, it's written over here, Hazrat Affan ibn al-As radiallahu anhu. And he belonged to a clan, of course. And that clan was called Umayyah. It was called the Umayyah clan. Right. So that was his father's name. Make sure you guys pay attention because these questions I will or I might ask them in the quiz towards the end. I'm glad some of you are actually taking notes. That's good. And so we'll talk about Hazrat Uthman Ghani radiallahu anhu, whose mother, whose name was Hazrat Bibi Arwa bint Kuzair radiallahu anhu. And she belonged to a different clan. She belonged to the Abd Shams clan. So his mother was from a different clan, and Hazrat Ghani's father was from a different clan. They were 2 different clans, but they belonged to the same tribe, right? And one more very interesting thing I'll tell you all is that Hazrat Uthman Ghani radiallahu anhu's grandmother was actually a relative of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, making Hazrat Uthman Ghani radiallahu anhu's mother the direct cousin of, or the first cousin of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Hazrat Uthman Ghani was basically the son of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's cousin sister, and that's an interesting fact to know for all of you, right? Okay, so Hazrat Uthman Ghani radiallahu anhu's father actually passed away at a young age. A couple of years after Hazrat Uthman was born. He was traveling abroad for a business trip, leaving Hazrat Uthman and the whole family, and he passed away on the way. And so this clan, right, the clan he belonged to, Umayyah clan, they were very, very wealthy. They were all very rich. And so when he passed away, there was a lot of property that was left with Hazrat Uthman Ghani radiallahu anhu. And so like his father, he also became a businessman. He became a merchant. And he was one of the richest among the Quraysh tribe. Like I told you, right? The Quraysh tribe was huge. And he was one of the richest men in the Quraysh tribe. Okay. So let me tell you about how Hazrat Uthman Ghani radiallahu anhu became a Muslim, how he converted to Islam. So in the year 611, he was returning from a business trip to Syria, which was to Syria. He was returning from there. And he was having a discussion with the first Khulafai Rashidin, who was Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, right? And he then learned about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's mission to spread Islam, his teachings, which were the right way of life, the morals, the principles, all of that. So when he was talking to Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, he then wanted to meet Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in order to convert to Islam. He was convinced that Islam is the right way, and etc. And so Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu decided to bring Hazrat Uthman Ghani radiallahu anhu to our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in order to get him converted to Islam. And so he was one of the first people to become a Muslim, one of the earliest Muslims who were converted by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A few of the other people who converted to Islam very early were Hazrat Ali Karimullah Wajhu radiallahu anhu. He was the fourth Khulafai Rashidin. Then there was Hazrat Zaid radiallahu anhu. Then there was Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu himself. And one important thing to note is that he belonged to the Umayyad clan, correct? His father belonged to the Umayyad clan. So he basically belonged to the Umayyad clan. Now, these people were very strongly against Islam or the teachings of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And so when Hazrat Uthman Ghani radiyallahu anhu converted to Islam, the people from this clan, the people from his clan, they became very angry with him because before that he wasn't a Muslim, correct? And the people from this clan, they were against Prophet Muhammad Wasallam's teachings, and they didn't agree with everything he had to say or anything he had to say. And so when Hazrat Uthman Ghani converted into a Muslim, he was his clan was very upset with him. He was very angry with him because his own kind got converted to something that they were against, right? So now let me tell you about the incident where the Quran was compiled in a written form. We all know that the Quran wasn't from the start in a paper form, correct? It was bestowed upon Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam through Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, obviously. Right, so in 650 AD, Hazrat Uthman Ghani radhiyallahu anhu, he started noticing slight different pronunciations in the Quran. At that point, everyone knew how to speak. There were a lot of people who knew about the Quran. They used to recite the Quran, but this was not in a written form at that time. And so people just memorized the Quran at that point. And so Hazrat Uthman Ghani decided that, it's better if we get the Holy Quran in a written form instead of any other form, because he started noticing, like I said, slight changes in pronunciation. And so at that point, Islam had expanded over the Arabian Peninsula into Persia, into North Africa. It was quite expanded. Okay, and in order to preserve the originality of the Holy Quran, he ordered a committee. Hazrat Uthman Ghani radhiyallahu anhu ordered a committee headed by Hazrat Zaid ibn Thabit. I mentioned him. He was one of the first Muslims to convert to Islam. He decided to make Hazrat Zaid the head of the committee, which would keep, or which would he was basically what he tried to do was that he would ask Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq radhiyallahu anhu to keep an original copy and a standard copy of the Holy Quran. It just in order to make it easier for people to use the Holy Quran, in order to read the Holy Quran and not make them forget the Holy Quran, right? And so within 20 years of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's passing away, the Quran was available in a written form. And this was because of Hazrat Uthman Ghani radhiyallahu anhu. He was the first one to compile, or he was the first one to compile the Holy Quran in a written form, which we have available today. And obviously, ever since then, there have been so many copies that have been made, and so many of them are available at your house, at my house, at everyone's houses. And it was all thanks to Hazrat Uthman Ghani radhiyallahu anhu for compiling the entire Quran Sharif. And whatever versions or different versions were available, which had a few changes, they all were destroyed. And so the Quran which you have right now, it's been the same Holy Quran thousands of years ago or hundreds of years ago. It's never been changed. Any changes have been completely removed. There are no changes. There are no different versions of the Holy Quran. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself says that he will protect the Holy Quran. Okay, so now let me tell you about a very unfortunate event which is related to the passing away of Hazrat Uthman Ghani radhiyallahu anhu. Right. So at that time, the Egyptian rebels, they were very strongly against Uthman Ghani radhiyallahu anhu. He was the Khalifa at that point, right? And so they were obviously going to be people who would object his practices, who would have problems with his teachings. his principles, what he has to say, to all of that. And so these Egyptian rebels, they were strongly against Hazrat Uthman Ghani radiallahu anhu's teachings. So much to the point that 6 years later, after the compiling of the Holy Quran, 6 years later on, there was a time, or there was a day, where the Egyptian rebels, they infiltrated, or they, without permission, they entered Hazrat Uthman Ghani radiallahu anhu's house, and astaghfirullah, they assassinated him. And his wife tried to protect him, but that was impossible, and he passed away. And that was basically how he passed away. His wife's name was Hazrat Bibi Naila radiallahu anhu, who was at that time the wife of Hazrat Uthman Ghani radiallahu anhu. And so after that, these Egyptian rebels, they looted the house, they left the house, and by the time the guards, he was a very famous personality, right? So obviously he's going to have some sort of protection. But by the time the guards, they came into the room, it was too late, and he had passed away. Astaghfirullah, Rabbi min kulli dhanbi wa atubu ilayh. And so with that we come to an end to the storytelling.